Hello mga kawawmat, in this video lesson we will discuss solving problems involving tests of hypothesis on population proportion. But before we proceed, don't forget to like this video and subscribe na rin kayo. Thank you! So here are the 5 steps in solving problems for a test hypothesis on the population proportion. First step, state the null and alternative hypothesis. So ano ba yung tatandaan lang natin dito kapag nagpo-formulate tayo ng null and alternative hypothesis? So kapag sa null, laging equal naman yan. No? Sa null hypothesis, laging equal yung symbol na ginagamit natin. Sa alternative hypothesis, so kapag one-tailed test yan, ang ginagamit nating symbol, it's either less than or greater than. And then kapag two-tailed test, ang gagamitin nating symbol ay not equal. So tatandaan itong mga symbol na to para hindi tayo malito o mahirapan mag-formulate ng null and alternative hypothesis natin. Step 2, choose the level of significance. So ano ba yung mga level of significance natin? Ito yung mga common na level of significance. 0.01 or that is 1%, 0.05 that is 5%, and 0.025 or that is 2.5% and 0.10 or 10%. Okay? And step 2, calculate the appropriate test statistic. So ano ba yung formula na ginagamit natin? So yung sample proportion that is x over n, and then using this formula. So pwedeng ganito or kasi alam naman natin na yung q natin that is 1 minus p. Okay, 1 minus p. So ang gagamitin natin formula para makompute natin yung computed value is gamit itong formula na to. Step number 4, determine the critical value. So saan natin kukunin para ma-identify natin kung ano yung critical value class or makuha natin yung value ng critical natin, kailangan alam natin kung one-tailed or two-tailed test ba siya. So paano natin malalaman kung one-tailed kapag less than or greater than? So kapag less than or greater than, so dito kayo titingin ngayon sa one-tailed test. Kapag left-tailed test, negative yung sign na gagamitin. Pag right-tailed test, ibig sabihin greater than yung symbol, alternative hypothesis natin, positive yung sign na gagamitin. At kapag not equal, ang alternative hypothesis natin, ibig sabihin two-tailed test yan. So dito kayo titingin ngayon. So using the level of significance, so ito yung mga corresponding na critical value natin. Step number 5, so paano tayo ano yung decision rule natin? Kapag it's either mag-reject tayo or we fail to reject the null hypothesis. Paano natin malalaman na magre-reject tayo ng null hypothesis? Kapag yung computed value natin nasa rejection region. Okay, we fail to reject the null hypothesis kapag yung computed value natin nasa acceptance region. So tatandaan itong tatlo na to. If the computed value is greater than or less than sa critical value class, i-reject natin yung null hypothesis. And then, kapag yung computed value natin falls in the rejection region, ibig sabihin, reject the null hypothesis. So, ang magiging decision natin doon, we reject the null hypothesis. At kapag ang computed value naman natin nasa acceptance or nasa non-rejection region, we fail to reject the null hypothesis. So, paano ulit yung illustration ng one-tailed and two-tailed test? Kapag two-tailed, may dalawa tayong part na rejection region natin. So, yung alpha level yung level of significance natin dito, dinidivide natin sa 2. So, nandito yung rejection region natin. Ito rin, rejection region din to. Itong nasa gitna, yung unshaded, that is the acceptance region. Ang left-tailed, so nasa left side yung graph natin, ito yung rejection region natin at ito naman yung acceptance region. And kapag sa right-tailed, so ito yung normal distribution natin. Okay, yung graph natin nasa right side ng normal distribution natin. At yung shaded part na to, that is the rejection region. So tatandaan lang natin, once na yung computed value natin nandyan or within the rejection region, automatic i-reject natin yung null hypothesis. Okay, for example number 1, a sample of 120 students is randomly selected from Masayahin High School and 21 of them said they are left-handed. Test the hypothesis that less than 22% of the students are left-handed by using the level of significance 0.05. So ano yung step number 1 natin? State the null and alternative hypothesis. Since meron tayo ditong claim, ano yung iti-test natin? Iti-test daw natin na yung 22%, less than 22% of the students are left-handed. So using the hypothesis testings, una, state muna natin yung null and alternative hypothesis natin. So yung null hypothesis natin dito, the population proportion equal dapat sa 22% or 0.22. Since may word tayo dito na less than, okay? So may less than tayo, therefore, yung alternative hypothesis natin, yung symbol na gagamitin natin is less than. At dito pa lang, alam natin na ito ay one-tailed test kasi yung alternative hypothesis natin less than yung ginamit. After that, determine the level of significance. So makikita naman agad sa given yung level of significance, that is 0.05. Calculate the test statistic. So using the formula, but before that, kailangan natin kunin yung mga data, no, na kakailanganin natin sa formula. So what are the given? So yung x natin is 21 and then the population proportion is 0.22, the sample size is 120. So paano natin na ito, a sample of 120 students, so that is the sample size. So unang kukunin yung sample proportion. So 21, so gamit na tayo ng calculator. 21 divide 120. So ano yung sagot natin? So kapag ganito, naka-fraction, pindutin nyo lang yung ito, yung S to D. Okay, that is 0.175. So since tatlo lang naman yung decimal niya, so ilagay na natin lahat yan, no? 0.175. And after that, kunin natin yung computed value natin using the formula. So isa-substitute lang natin yung mga given data dito. So using our calculator. So 0.175 minus 0.22. Then sa baba, yung square root natin bago pindutin yung fraction bar. So 0.22 times, since 0.22 yung population proportion natin, yung Q natin dito, so 1 minus P yun, di ba? So 1 minus 0.22, that is 0.78. So 0.78 all over 120 yung N natin. So, and then equals, so that is negative 1. So the ayaw mag okay, negative 1.190. Okay, 1.190 yung kasi 1.89. So ang kasunod na ng 9 is 9 pa din. So gawin na natin tong 9. So 190. 189. So yung susunod na 190. So the computed value is negative 1.190. So after nyan, kunin natin yung critical value. So nabanggit ko kanina, since yung alternative hypothesis natin less than yung ginamit, so one-tailed test ito. So titingin tayo dun sa table natin sa one-tailed test. And then yung level of significance natin ay 0.05. So dito tayo sa 5%. 5%. And then one-tailed test. So since less than ito, so negative yung sign natin. So negative 1.645. So gamit yung graph natin. So makikita natin sa graph. Kasi yung critical value natin, class, siya yung boundary between the rejection region and the acceptance region. So itong blue na line na to, ito yung ano natin, critical value. So that is negative 1.645. At kung napapansin nyo, class, nandito sa left side yung graph natin since left-tailed test to kasi less than. And then yung shaded part na to, ito yung rejection region natin. Ngayon, tingnan natin kung saan napabilang or saan natin makikita yung computed value natin na negative 1.190. So, nandito yung computed value natin, ito. So, wala siya dun sa rejection region natin, nasa acceptance region. So, ano yung magiging decision natin dito kapag ganito? Okay, so yung magiging decision natin dyan, so medyo since the computed test statistic value or that is negative 1.190 is less than the critical value, okay, so the computed value is less than the critical value. So, dapat greater than. Wait, class. Okay, since yung computed value natin ay greater than sa critical value, so makikita natin, nandito yung computed value natin na negative 1.19. So, greater than siya sa critical value natin ng negative 1.645. So, since left-tailed test, so kapag left-tailed test kasi class, kapag greater than yung computed value natin sa critical value, ibig sabihin na sa acceptance region yan. So, yung magiging decision natin dyan, we fail to reject the null hypothesis. Since kitang-kita naman sa graph na yung computed value natin na sa acceptance region. Kaya, we fail to reject the null hypothesis. So, ano yung conclusion natin dito? Therefore, we conclude that at 0.05 level of significance, there is not enough evidence that less than 22% of the students are left-handed. Another example, a politician claims that she will receive 60% of the votes in the upcoming election of a random sample of 200 voters. So there were 100 who will surely vote for her. So test the politician assertion at the 0.05 level of significance. So ano ulit yung step number 1 natin? Step number 1, state the null and alternative hypothesis. So, ano yung null hypothesis natin dito? Since tinetest natin, yung claim niya dito, she will receive 60% of the votes in the upcoming election. So, ano yung magiging natin? Null hypothesis. So, equal dapat, no? Equal to 0.60 yung population proportion natin. Or that is 60%. And then, since ito yung itetest in clinic claim niya, no? Ito yung clinic claim niya, that 60% daw ng votes ay yung marireceive niya ay 60% ng votes sa upcoming election. So, iti-test niya kung ito talaga ay totoo with 0.05 level of significance. So, ano yung magiging alternative hypothesis natin? Not equal. So, dito pa lang, alam natin na kapag not equal yung alternative hypothesis natin, two-tailed test ito. After nung null and alternative hypothesis, after natin ma-formulate, anong next? Level of significance. So, sa level of significance, kita naman dito sa problem that is 0.05. Then, calculate the test statistic. First, identify the given data. So, ano yung mga given data natin? We have, yung X natin 100, the population proportion is 0.60, and then the sample size is 200. Ang una natin makukuha dito is yung sample proportion, no? Yung sample proportion. So, using our calculator, so that is 100, or kahit di nyo na pala gamitan ng calculator kasi 100 divide 200, so 1/2, or that is 0.05. So, 0.5 pala, hindi 0.5. 0.5. So, 100 divide 200, that is 1/2 or 0.5. Then, after nyan, kunin natin yung computed value natin using this formula. So, substitute lang natin lahat ng given data natin sa formula na yan. So, fraction bar, 0.5 minus 0.6. Then, yung square root natin, fraction bar again, 0.6 times, so 0.4. Kailangan kasi mag-equal to sa 1. Pag in-add natin ito silang dalawa, equal sa 1. So 0.6, 0.4 over 200. So ano yung computed value natin? So, yung computed value natin is negative 2.887. So, negative 2.887. And after that, determine the critical value. So, na-identify natin na ito ay two-tailed test. So, gamit yung table natin. So, dito tayo titingin. And then, two-tailed test, ano yung level of significance? 0.05. So, dito tayo titingin sa 5%. That is positive or negative 1.96 yung critical value natin. Again, yung critical value natin is positive or negative 1.96. So, gamit yung graph para makita nyo. So, makikita natin dito na yung level of significance natin divided it by 2. Bakit? Two-tailed test kasi ito. Meron tayong dalawang rejection region. So, yung significance level natin dito, i-divide natin kay 2. Kaya yan ay 0.025. So, balikan natin yung computed value natin. Yung computed value natin is negative 2.887. So, saan natin makikita yan? Nandito, yung negative 2.887. At makikita natin na nasa rejection region siya. No? Nasa rejection region yung computed value natin. Kapag nasa rejection region yung computed value, anong ibig sabihin yan? We reject the null hypothesis. So, yun ang magiging decision natin. Since the computed value of negative 2.887, so, negative 2.887, tanggalin lang natin yung isang equals kasi na doble. So, since the computed value is greater than, no? Greater than ba yung computed value natin dito? So, yung computed value natin is negative 1.190. So, nandito. So yung number 2 na pala tayo, no? Okay, so yung negative 2.887, okay, so balikan natin that the computed value natin ay less than sa critical value natin. So makikita nyo, no, na yung computed value nyo less than sa critical value. Since ito ay not two-tailed test, so makikita nyo na yung computed value natin within the rejection region. Therefore, ang decision natin na gagawin, we reject the null hypothesis. So, ano yung magiging conclusion natin? Therefore, we conclude that 0.05 level of significance, there is enough evidence that a politician will receive 60% of the votes in the upcoming election. So, last example, a research state that 28% of college degree are from engineering courses. A researcher doesn't believe that this is correct. A sample of 500 graduates was used and it was found out that 95 have finished engineering courses. So, test the claim if it has increased the level of significance 0.10. So, what is the first step? State the null and alternative hypothesis. Since ano yung clinic claim niya dito? Increase. So, yung alternative hypothesis agad natin dito, greater than. Kasi yung word na increase. Therefore, yung null hypothesis natin, equal. So, equal siya sa 28% or 0.28. So, again, yung alternative hypothesis natin, since increase at 0.10 level of significance, so, greater than yung gagamitin natin sa alternative hypothesis. So, ito ay one-tailed test or ito ay tinatawag din natin yung right-tailed test. Bakit? Greater than yung symbol na ginamit. After that, determine the level of significance. So, 0.10 yung level of significance natin based din sa problem. And calculate the test statistic using the formula. So, after that, identify muna natin lahat ng given data. So, yung X natin dito is 95. The population proportion is 0.28 and the sample size is 500. So, compute the sample proportion using this formula. So, gamit yung calculator natin dito. 95 para mas mabilis, no? 95 divide 500 equals so 0.19. So the answer is 0.19 yung sample proportion natin. And then para ma-compute natin yung computed value natin, gamitin natin yung formula by substituting all the given data. So ang mga given natin So, gamitin natin yung calculator natin dito. So, that is yung sample proportion natin, 0.19. Okay, so 0.19 minus, ano yung population proportion? 0.28. Then square root of, then fraction bar again. So yung population proportion natin na 0.28, multiply natin sa 1 minus p. So yung 1 minus p natin, that is, so 1 minus 0.28. What will be the answer? 0. So anong sagot natin? 0.72. Tama ba? Okay, so i-check nyo rin kung tama ha. Okay. And then yung n natin is 500. Okay. So the answer is negative 4.482. Okay, naghang yung ano natin. So yung computed value natin dito is negative 4.482. So yung computed value natin is negative 4.482. So 3 decimal yung kukunin natin. Kasi yung paliwanag ko nga dito, kasi nga sa critical value, 3 decimals din yung ibang makukuha natin doon. Kaya sa computed value, so gamitin nyo 3 decimals din. So after that, determine the critical value. So nabanggit ko kanina na ito ay one-tailed test, right-tailed test by the way. So kasi nga, greater than yung symbol natin sa alternative hypothesis. So gamit yung table natin. So right-tailed test, so sa one-tailed test tayo. So positive yung sign. And then yung alpha level natin dito is 0.10. So sa 10% tayo titingin. Ibig sabihin, yung critical value natin is 1.28. Then after that, kunin natin, gamit yung graph natin, using the normal distribution. So nandito yung saan natin matatagpuan or makikita yung computed value na negative 4.482. Nandito sa left side, no? Nandito sa left side. Samantalang nandito yung critical region natin o yung rejection region natin. So yung rejection region natin nasa right side, ang layo. So ibig sabihin nasa acceptance region yung computed value natin. So kapag nasa acceptance region, ano yung magiging decision natin? Since the computed test statistic or that is negative 4.482 is less than the critical value or it falls in the acceptance region, we fail to reject the null hypothesis. So yung magiging conclusion natin, therefore we conclude that 0.10 level of significance, there is not enough evidence that the proportion of college graduates who have finished engineering courses has increased to 28%. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned something. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button para updated kayo for more video tutorial. This is your guide in learning your math lesson, your Wow Math channel.